tell the lawyer that was suing this sheriff's office, he says, listen, your family is suing the biggest gang in America. Okay? I advise you and your brothers that if you don't have to leave the house, don't leave the house. Okay?
I mean, it's a $500,000 lawsuit.
Try not to leave the house because you're going to get harassed. You're going to get harassed. Okay? This is going to happen. And every time you interact with the police, I want you guys to record it. Okay? So we were documenting every time we get harassed.
Yep.
Okay? And we were sending it to this lawyer. At some point in this lawsuit, the lawyer says we're trying to come to a settlement with this case, okay? And they put out an offer, or they talked. I think the lawyer wanted us to be on a phone call with the judge that's going to be settling this case, and Mustafa was the one that talked to him. This was in 2023 actually. Okay, and this case was ongoing when Mustafa's accident happened. Okay, so fast forward to this accident with Mustafa. When we called this lawyer, the civil lawyer, by the way, the civil case was dismissed a week after Mustafa's arrest. Okay, and we're thinking, I mean, what happened to this case? Why did the lawyer all of a sudden decide to withdraw? The civil lawyer decided to withdraw. And a conversation that I had with a witness that was going to testify for us, he says that, so this was a doctor that was writing a report that was discussing the traumatic effect of what happens when police violate your rights and they continuously harass you. This doctor was just writing up a report about PTSD, or just what happens to a person when they get harassed constantly. Okay, now this doctor was going to testify as an expert witness in our civil case. He calls me up and he says that men in suits, okay, came to his apartment and told him that if you testified for the Al Jazaris, okay, we're going to arrest you, we're going to pull your medical license, and we're going to drag your name in the media. Okay?
Now I find that interesting, because the same lawyer that today sits in federal court in front of Judge Hilton.
You're talking about the lawyer for the police,
Rachel Adams. The same lawyer that's defending the police against the lawsuit that Mustafa's filing is Rachel Adams with Thomas McMillan. It's the same lawyer that's now today representing the jail, and it's telling Judge Hilton Mustafa doesn't need to go to the hospital after a correctional officer beat him and abused him. And you want to tell me this is not a targeted effort to abuse Mustafa? I mean, Mustafa's lawyer, when you tell him Mustafa got beaten up inside the jail, he says, I have no doubt that they beat your brother, abused your brother, because he sued the police. The fact that you have the same lawyer, Rachel Adams, I mean, you want to tell me that this is not a targeted effort against Mustafa?
I mean, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this beat up inside the jail. So, Mustafa was arrested on April 7th, and we know that the primary investigator falsified Mustafa's statements because when
they were recording.
I recorded that conversation. So Mustafa had a conversation with investigator Robert Drum on April 7th, and that same night Mustafa was arrested. Now, when Mustafa shows up to court the following Monday, the prosecutor is telling the judge, she says, Your Honor, he told the investigator that he knew what happened in this accident, that he was arguing with his girlfriend, and that this was intentional. This is what the prosecutor is telling the judge. And I'm sitting there thinking, Mustafa didn't say that. He never said that. Okay? When the police report gets released to the attorney who shares it with us, we're looking at this discovery report, and there's an entire section that says phone interview with Mustafa by Robert Drum.
Yep.
Okay? It's 2 pages long, and I have the audio. So we compare the audio to this narrative that was written down by Robert Drum, this investigator. And there are 5 items in this report, crucial items in this report that are the complete opposite of what Mustafa said. Mustafa says, I don't know what happened in this accident. And the investigator writes, I know what happened. Mustafa says, I was never arguing with Dorothy. Investigator writes, Mustafa was very angry at Dorothy. He says he was arguing, and that's why he drove into oncoming traffic. Okay? And there was other things, like I think the time he went to sleep. Mustafa says, I went to sleep, he says, I went to sleep late and I woke up late. Robert Drum puts in the report, Mustafa said, I slept at 2 o'clock. Mustafa never said that. Mustafa never gave a number. So for the investigator to put in his own narrative only to manufacture this probable cause so that he can get a warrant for his arrest. You might think for someone to say, I don't know what happened, and the investigator says, I know what happened. You might think, that's such a small discrepancy, who cares? Well, we're talking about an accident, a fatal accident, where 2 people lost their lives. And when you say, I don't know what happened, or I know what happened, a judge is looking at this, and he's thinking, 2 people lost their lives, and this man says, I know what happened?
Investigator Drum literally says that Mustafa told him I was arguing inside the vehicle.
They're basically saying Mustafa confessed to doing this intentionally. And that's not the case. We know it's a complete lie. It's a fabrication.
And I find it interesting that Investigator Drum never recorded that conversation. And it was supposed to be, in court, my word against Mustafa's word. The investigator's word against Mustafa's words. You've got an investigator that's been there for 20 years, didn't turn on his body cam, and now the police report says Mustafa said I was arguing inside the vehicle. Now, he wasn't counting on the fact that Muhammad recorded it.
So how do we know he didn't record it?
Because I have everything in the discovery, everything that's in evidence.com, I have it.
Let's break it down. Okay.
Yeah.
So